I never imagined that the hotel key card I found in my wife's coat pocket would lead me to stand outside room 847, listening to her laugh, that intimate laugh I thought was only mine, coming from behind the door. But when I heard the man's voice say, "I love you, Sarah," in the exact same tone I'd used 1,000 times, I knew my 10-year marriage was a lie. But to understand how I ended up in that hotel hallway, my hands shaking, my world collapsing around me, I need to take you back. Back to 12 years ago, when I first met Sarah at a mutual friend's barbecue. Back to when I thought we had the perfect love story. Back to when I believed she was my soulmate, my forever. Back before I knew that forever had an expiration date I couldn't see coming. If this story resonates with you, if you've ever been blindsided by betrayal, please hit that subscribe button and click the like button below. Sharing these stories helps others know they're not alone in their pain. Now let me tell you how everything I believed in fell apart. Summer 2013. I was 26 years old, working as a junior architect at a firm in downtown Chicago. And honestly, I wasn't looking for anything serious. I'd just gotten out of a relationship that had fizzled out, and I was enjoying being single, focusing on my career. My buddy Marcus was throwing a birthday barbecue at his place in Lincoln Park, and I almost didn't go. I was tired from a long week of work. Thank God I did. Or maybe I should curse that day. I still don't know. Sarah was standing by the grill, wearing a yellow sundress that somehow made her look like sunshine personified. She was laughing at something Marcus's girlfriend had said. Her head thrown back, completely unself-conscious. She was 24, working as a kindergarten teacher, and when Marcus introduced us, her handshake was firm and confident. "So you're the architect," she said, her green eyes lighting up. "Marcus says you designed his kitchen renovation." Guilty. Though I'm not sure designed is the right word. More like tried to fix his terrible ideas. She laughed at that, and we ended up talking for 3 hours straight. About everything: our jobs, our families, our dreams. She told me she'd always wanted to be a teacher, that she loved working with kids, that there was nothing better than seeing a child's face light up when they finally understood something. I told her about my dream of one day starting my own firm, designing homes that people could actually afford, not just luxury condos for the wealthy. "That's beautiful," she said. "The world needs more architects who care about regular people." We exchanged numbers that night. 3 days later, we had our first official date at an Italian restaurant in Wicker Park. Then another date. Then another. By the end of summer, we were officially together, and I was falling hard. David was everything I'd been looking for without knowing I was looking for it. He was ambitious and driven, but also kind and thoughtful. He remembered small details like how I took my coffee or that I hated mushrooms. He made me laugh with stupid puns and dad jokes. He was affectionate without being clingy, supportive without being overbearing. His family was traditional. His father was a retired banker. His mother a homemaker who'd raised 4 boys with military precision. David was the second oldest, and from what I could tell, they were a close-knit, conservative Catholic family who valued stability, tradition, and keeping up appearances. We got engaged in October 2011, exactly 1 year after we met. David proposed at the same coffee shop where we'd first talked, at the same corner table. He'd worked with the owner to close the place early, filled it with candles and roses, and when I walked in thinking we were meeting for a casual coffee date, he was down on one knee with a beautiful vintage diamond ring that had belonged to his grandmother. "Jenna," he said, his voice shaking slightly, "you're my best friend, my partner, the person I want to build a life with. Will you marry me?" I said yes without hesitation. How could I not? He was perfect. We were perfect together. We got married in June 2012. A beautiful ceremony at a historic church in downtown Boston, followed by a reception at a country club that David's parents insisted on paying for. It was elegant, traditional, everything a wedding should be. I wore a strapless white gown with lace details. David looked impossibly handsome in his tuxedo, and when we said our vows, I meant every word. I promise to love you, honor you, and cherish you for better or worse, in sickness and health, for all the days of my life. He said the same words back to me, looking into my eyes with what I thought was complete honesty and devotion. His hands were steady when he slipped the wedding band onto my finger. Mine were shaking with happiness. Our first few years of marriage were genuinely good. We bought a small 3-bedroom house in Newton, a suburb just outside Boston. It wasn't anything fancy, a 1960s colonial that needed work, but it was ours. David handled the finances since he was better with money, and I threw myself into designing our home, picking out furniture, painting the walls in warm colors that made the space feel cozy and lived in. We fell into comfortable rhythms. David left for work at 7 a.m. every morning, came home around 7 p.m. most nights. I worked from home 3 days a week, went into the agency the other 2 days. We had date nights on Fridays, usually dinner at a local restaurant, sometimes a movie. Saturdays were for errands and house projects. Sundays we'd often have brunch with friends or visit his parents. We talked about having kids. Not immediately, but someday. David wanted to wait until we were more financially stable, until he made partner at his firm, until we'd traveled more. I was fine with waiting. We were young, we had time, and honestly I loved the freedom of just being us. Our sex life was good. Not mind-blowing but consistent, affectionate. David was a considerate lover, always made sure I was satisfied, but there was a routine to it. Usually once or twice a week, typically on weekend mornings or occasionally on weeknight evenings if we weren't too tired. It was comfortable, familiar. Looking back now, I realize it was also increasingly infrequent as the years went on. But at the time, I chalked it up to busy schedules and the natural ebb and flow of a long-term relationship. By 2018, 6 years into our marriage, we'd settled into what I thought was a solid, stable partnership. David had made senior vice president at his firm. I'd been promoted to creative director at my agency, and we were finally in a place where we could afford nice vacations and save for the future. We'd traveled to Italy for our 5th anniversary. Spent 2 weeks exploring Rome, Florence, and the Amalfi Coast. We took photos at every landmark, ate our way through trattorias and gelaterias, and I remember thinking, this is it. This is the life I always wanted. I had no idea I was living in a carefully constructed illusion. I had no idea that the man I'd been married to for years was hiding a fundamental part of himself. I had no idea that our entire relationship was built on a foundation that was already cracking, and I just couldn't see the fissures yet. Looking back now, I can see the moments I missed, the signs I rationalized away, the small inconsistencies I explained with innocent excuses. But at the time, I thought I was living in a happy marriage with a man who loved me. I was so incredibly wrong. The first crack appeared in early 2019, though I didn't recognize it as a crack at the time. David started going to the gym. Now this might not sound like a red flag. Plenty of people get into fitness. But David had never been a gym person. In the 7 years I'd known him, he'd occasionally gone for a run or played pickup basketball with his college friends, but he'd never been someone who prioritized working out. He'd joke about his dad bod, even though we didn't have kids yet, and he seemed perfectly content with his body. Then suddenly, in January 2019, he announced he'd joined an expensive gym in downtown Boston, near his office. "I'm getting older, Jen," he said one evening over dinner. "I need to take better care of myself. Plus, some of the guys at work go there." It'll be good for networking. Made sense, right? He was 36. Maybe he was feeling his age, wanting to stay healthy. I supported it. I even bought him new workout clothes for his birthday. Nice athletic pants, moisture-wicking shirts, a gym bag with his initials embroidered on it. He started going 5 days a week. Before work, during lunch breaks, sometimes after work. He'd come home showered and fresh, his hair still damp, smelling like expensive soap and something else, a cologne I didn't recognize but assumed was from the gym's locker room products. "How was your workout?" I asked. "Good. I'm definitely feeling it." He'd flex his arm playfully, showing off muscles that were indeed starting to develop. He was getting fitter, leaner, more toned. I was happy for him. He seemed happier too, more energized, like he'd found something that made him feel good about himself. The second sign came in March, 2 months later. David's phone habits changed. We'd never been the kind of couple who obsessively checked each other's phones. We trusted each other. His phone would sit on the kitchen counter while he showered, on his nightstand while he slept. I never felt the urge to snoop because I never had a reason to. But suddenly his phone was always face down, always in his pocket, always with him, even when he went to the bathroom. If I walked into a room while he was texting, he'd casually shift the screen away or put the phone down quickly. "Who was that?" I asked once, after noticing him smile at a text message with an expression I couldn't quite read. "Just Tony from work. He sent a funny meme." His voice was normal, casual, but he clicked off the screen before I could see it. "Can I see?" It's stupid. You had to be there." He slipped the phone into his pocket and changed the subject. "What do you want for dinner?" I felt a tiny pinch of something. Not quite suspicion. More like exclusion. Like he had this whole world on his phone that I wasn't part of anymore. But I pushed the feeling down. He was allowed to have private conversations. I had texts with my friends that he didn't need to see. It was healthy to have boundaries, right? In April, the third sign arrived, the grooming. David had always been reasonably well-groomed, clean-shaven or with a neat stubble. Hair trimmed regularly, basic hygiene. But he'd never been particularly vain. He wore the same cologne he'd worn since college, used whatever soap was in the shower, kept his hair in a simple professional style. That changed practically overnight. He bought new cologne. Expensive stuff from Nordstrom, woody and sophisticated, nothing like his usual scent. He started using hair products, pomade or wax or something that made his hair look artfully messy instead of just neat. He got a different haircut, more modern, with the sides faded and the top longer. He bought new clothes, fitted button-down shirts in colors he'd never worn before, dark jeans that weren't his usual relaxed fit, even a leather jacket that seemed completely out of character. "You look different," I said one Saturday morning, watching him get ready to go meet the guys for basketball. He glanced at himself in the mirror, adjusting his collar. "Different good or different bad?" "Just different." "Since when do you wear a leather jacket to play basketball?" He laughed, kissing my forehead. "I'm not wearing this to play. We're grabbing lunch after. I can't show up to a restaurant looking like a sweaty mess." Made sense. But something about it felt off. Like he was dressing for someone. Trying to impress someone. I just assumed it was a weird midlife crisis thing or maybe work-related. Maybe he was trying to look more successful, more put together for clients. By May, we hit the fourth sign, the emotional distance. David became distracted. Physically present but mentally somewhere else. We'd be watching a movie, and I'd notice him staring at his phone. We'd be having dinner, and he'd respond to my questions with one-word answers. His mind clearly elsewhere. In bed at night, He'd stay on his phone scrolling until I fell asleep, and I'd wake up sometimes to find him still awake, the blue light from his screen illuminating his face in the dark. Our sex life dropped off even more dramatically. Once every 2 weeks, if that. And when we did have sex, it felt obligatory, like he was going through the motions because he knew he should, not because he wanted to. He'd finish quickly, roll over, and fall asleep or get up to shower immediately. "Is everything okay?" I asked one night after another quick, disconnected encounter. "You seem somewhere else lately." "I'm fine. Just stressed about work. Big project coming up." "Do you want to talk about it?" "Not really. It's boring finance stuff. You'd hate it." He kissed my shoulder, already reaching for his phone on the nightstand. "Get some sleep. You have that early meeting tomorrow." Conversation closed. Distance maintained. And I accepted it because what else could I do? Push him to talk when he clearly didn't want to. Accuse him of something I couldn't even name. The fifth sign hit in June. The schedule changes. David had always been relatively predictable with his schedule. Work from 7 a.m. to 6 or 7 p.m. most days. Home for dinner. Weekends mostly free except for the occasional work emergency. But suddenly, his schedule became erratic and filled with activities I couldn't quite track. "I have a networking dinner on Thursday," he'd announce. "Another one. That's the third this month." "I know. The firm is really pushing us to build client relationships." Or, "I'm going golfing with Tony on Saturday." "I thought you hated golf." "It's not about liking it. It's about business." Or, "I have to work late Tuesday. Don't wait up." These excuses were reasonable on their own. But together they created a pattern of absence. He was home less and less. And when he was home, he wasn't really there. He'd be on his laptop in his home office, door closed, taking work calls that seemed to involve a lot of laughter for business conversations. Once, I knocked on his door to ask if he wanted tea, and he quickly closed his laptop screen, looking almost guilty. "Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt," I said. "No, it's fine. I just client confidentiality stuff. You know how it is." He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. The sixth sign appeared in July, the defensiveness. David had always been even-tempered, easy to talk to, open to discussion. But suddenly, any question I asked felt like an accusation to him. "Where were you?" Became, "Why are you interrogating me?" "Who were you texting?" Became, "Since when don't you trust me?" "You've been gone a lot lately." Became, "Are you saying I don't spend enough time at home?" He'd turn conversations around, make me feel like I was the one being unreasonable, suspicious, controlling. And because I didn't want to be that wife, the nagging, jealous one who tracked her husband's every move, I backed off. I apologized for asking. Gave him space. I was being gaslit, and I was too trusting to realize it. The seventh and final warning sign came in early August, the complete change in future talk. We'd always talked about our future, the kids we'd have someday, the bigger house we'd buy, the trips we'd take when we retired. It was comforting, that shared vision of growing old together. But in August, David stopped participating in those conversations. "I was thinking maybe we should start trying for a baby next year," I said one night over dinner. "We're both in good places in our careers, financially stable. Feels like good timing." He didn't answer right away. Just pushed food around his plate. "David, I don't know if I'm ready for that yet. We've been talking about it for years." "I know, but I just think we should wait a bit longer. Make sure we're really ready." "What would make us more ready than we are now?" "I don't know, Jen. Can we just not talk about this right now?" Felt like a door slamming shut. And when I tried to talk about anything future-related, A vacation for our anniversary, refinancing the house, even just plans for next month. He was vague, non-committal, like he couldn't see a future with me anymore. All these signs were there, screaming at me. But I rationalized every single one. Work stress, midlife crisis, normal marriage stuff. People grow and change. Maybe we were in a rut. Maybe we just needed to reconnect, spend more quality time together. I suggested a date night. He canceled. I suggested a weekend getaway. He said he was too busy at work. I suggested couples counseling just to check in, keep our marriage healthy. He looked at me like I was crazy. Counseling? Why would we need counseling? We're fine. But we weren't fine. I was losing him, and I didn't even know to who or what. I just knew something was wrong, something was slipping away. And I couldn't stop it because I didn't understand what I was fighting against. Looking back, all the signs pointed to an affair. I just never imagined the affair was with a man. That possibility never even entered my mind. Why would it? David was straight. We had a sexual relationship. He'd never given me any indication that he was attracted to men. Except now I realize he had. All those signs weren't just about infidelity. They were about someone living a double life, someone trying to express a part of themselves they'd kept hidden for decades, someone torn between the life they'd built and the truth they could no longer ignore. But I didn't see it. I couldn't see it. And so I walked blindly forward, thinking my marriage was just going through a rough patch, having no idea that rough patch was actually a complete shattering waiting to happen. September 2019 brought the first incident that made my stomach drop with real, undeniable dread. I needed David's laptop. Mine had crashed in the middle of a critical project, and I was working from home with a deadline looming. He'd already left for work, and his laptop was sitting on his desk in his home office. We'd shared devices before, it was never a big deal. So I opened it, planning to just use it for a few hours. His email was open. I wasn't trying to snoop. I really wasn't. I was literally moving to close the email tab so I could open Chrome when I saw a subject line in his inbox that made me freeze. Can't wait for Saturday. The sender was saved in his contacts as just M. Not a full name. Just a letter. I shouldn't have clicked it. I know that. But my hands moved before my brain could stop them. The email was short. Saturday night is going to be amazing. I've been counting down the days. That place you picked looks perfect. See you at 8 p.m. My heart started pounding. Saturday night. That was this coming Saturday. David had told me he had a work dinner. Client thing. He'd specifically said I couldn't come because it was for senior executives only. I scrolled through the email thread. There were dozens of emails between David and M, going back months. All of them vague, careful, using language that could sound innocent if you didn't know to look closer. Had a great time yesterday. Can't stop thinking about last night. When can I see you again? You made me so happy. My hands were shaking. I closed the laptop, backed away from the desk like it was radioactive. This was evidence of an affair. Had to be. But with who? Who was M? A woman from his office. A client. Someone he'd met at that gym. When David came home that night, I confronted him. Hey, who's M? I tried to sound casual, like I was just curious. Not like my heart was racing and my palms were sweating. M. He looked genuinely confused. Yeah. Someone who's been emailing you. I had to use your laptop today, mine crashed. And I accidentally saw some emails. His face did something complicated. Surprise, then concern, then something I couldn't read. Oh. That's Marcus. Guy from the gym. He's helped me a lot with my workout routine. We've become friends. Marcus. I tested the name out loud. You've never mentioned him. Haven't I? I thought I did. He's a good guy. Works in tech. We grab lunch sometimes after working out. These emails seem friendly. Really friendly. David laughed, but it sounded forced. What guys can't be friends? Can't send friendly emails. Can't wait for Saturday. You made me so happy. That's how you talk to your gym buddy. Jesus, Jen. Are you seriously doing this right now? Marcus is a friend. Good friend. I'm sorry if I didn't give you his complete biography, but I'm allowed to have friendships outside our marriage. He made me feel crazy. Like I was reading into innocent emails, being the paranoid wife who saw threats everywhere. And maybe I was. Maybe I was just insecure, projecting my own fears onto normal male friendship. Men could be emotionally close without it meaning anything, right? You're right, I said, backing down. I'm sorry. I guess I felt weird seeing emails I didn't know about. Well, now you know. Marcus is my friend. That's it. But he didn't offer to introduce me to Marcus. Didn't suggest we all have dinner together. Didn't show me pictures or tell me more about this person who was supposedly just a friend. He shut the conversation down and I let it drop. The second incident happened 3 weeks later, in late September. I came home early from work, my afternoon meeting had been cancelled, and David's car was in the driveway. That was unusual. He was never home at 3 p.m. on a weekday. I walked in through the garage, expecting to find him maybe working from home or sick or something. The house was quiet. Too quiet. I called out, "David? Are you home?" No answer. I walked toward his office. The door was closed, and I could hear his voice, muffled, talking to someone. Phone call, probably. I was about to walk away when I heard him laugh. That laugh. The intimate, warm laugh that he used to use with me. I pressed my ear to the door, hating myself even as I did it. "I know I miss you too." "No, she's at work. I wish I could, but we'd have to be careful. You make me feel things I didn't know I could feel. I can't wait to see you again." My blood went cold. This wasn't a friendly conversation. This was a conversation between lovers. The tone, the words, the emotion in his voice, this was intimacy. This was romance. I burst through the door without knocking. David jumped. His phone clutched to his chest. "Jesus, you scared me. What are you doing home? Who were you talking to?" My voice came out sharp, accusing. "Work call." "Why? That didn't sound like a work call." "Well, it was. We're allowed to be friendly with colleagues." He was defensive again, angry that I'd interrupted him. "Let me see your phone." "What? Well, that's insane. If it was just a work call, show me your phone." "Jen, you're being ridiculous. I'm not showing you my phone because you don't trust me. That's not how marriage works." We stared at each other. I could have pushed harder. Could have demanded to see it, could have grabbed it from him. But I didn't. 'Cause I was afraid. Afraid of what I'd find. Afraid of the fight it would cause. Afraid that if I pushed too hard, our marriage would shatter completely. So I backed down. Again. "Fine. Sorry." "You're right." The words tasted like ash in my mouth. David softened, came over and hugged me. "Hey. I know things have been weird lately. Work is stressful, I've been distracted. But you're my wife. Love you. You don't need to worry." He was lying. I could feel it in my bones. But I wanted so badly to believe him that I forced myself to ignore my instincts. The third incident came in October, and it shook me even harder. I was doing laundry, David's gym clothes were in a pile by the washing machine, and when I emptied his gym bag, a receipt fell out. From a restaurant. Il Giardino, An upscale Italian place downtown that we'd been to once for our anniversary. The receipt was dated 2 days ago, a Wednesday evening, when David had told me he was working late. 2 entrees. 2 glasses of wine. A dessert to share. Total bill. $187. He'd been at a romantic dinner. With someone. While telling me he was at the office. I took a picture of the receipt with my phone and waited for him to come home. How was work? I asked when he walked in around 8 p.m. Long, exhausting. I'm glad to be home. He kissed my cheek, started loosening his tie. What did you have for dinner? He paused just for a second. Grabbed a sandwich from the deli near the office. Why? Just curious. I pulled out the receipt, set it on the kitchen counter between us. Because according to this, you had Italian food at Il Giardino on Wednesday night. The night you said you were working late. His face went pale. Where did you get that? Your gym bag. Who were you with, David? It was a business dinner. Client meeting. At a romantic Italian restaurant. And you ordered dessert to share. What kind of business meeting? A client who appreciates good food. We closed a major deal. It was celebratory. What's the client's name? That's confidential. Bullshit. I was shaking now, anger and fear mixing into something volcanic. You're lying to me. You've been lying to me for months. Who is it? Who are you seeing? I'm not seeing anyone. His voice rose to match mine. You're being paranoid. You're inventing problems that don't exist. Then why are you lying about where you've been? Why all the secrecy? The phone calls. The emails. The late nights. Because you've become suffocating. You question everything I do everywhere I go. Maybe if you trusted me for 5 minutes, I wouldn't feel like I have to hide normal business dinners from you. He turned it around. Made me the villain. Made my justified suspicions sound like controlling behavior. And the worst part. A small part of me wondered if he was right. If I was being crazy. If I was pushing him away with my paranoia. I just want the truth, I said, my voice breaking. The truth is I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted from work, from your constant accusations, from feeling like I'm on trial in my own home. Can we drop this? We didn't drop it. We fought for another hour, going in circles, getting nowhere. He never admitted anything. Never gave me any concrete answers. Just kept insisting I was overreacting, imagining things, being unreasonable. Finally, exhausted and emotionally drained, I went to bed. He slept on the couch. The 4th incident happened in early November, and it's the one that nearly broke me before the final discovery. David came home from the gym one Saturday afternoon with a hickey on his neck. Fucking hickey. Like we were teenagers. He'd tried to hide it with his shirt collar, but when he reached up to grab something from the top shelf in the kitchen, his collar shifted and I saw it. A dark purple mark just below his jawline. What the hell is that? I pointed at his neck. His hand flew up to cover it. What are you talking about? That mark on your neck. That's a hickey, David. No, it's not. I must have, I don't know, maybe I got hit with a racquetball or something during my workout. A racquetball gave you a hickey-shaped bruise in the exact place where someone's mouth would be? Jesus Christ, Jenna, not everything is some grand conspiracy. But we both knew what it was. We both knew there was no innocent explanation for that mark. Someone had put their mouth on my husband's skin, and it wasn't me. Who is it? My voice was eerily calm. I want to know who you're sleeping with. I'm not sleeping with anyone. Then how do you explain that? I moved closer, pulled his collar down to fully expose the mark. It was fresh, probably from earlier that day. This didn't come from a racquetball. This came from someone's mouth. He pushed my hand away. You don't know what you're talking about. Then explain it. Give me any reasonable explanation. He couldn't. He just stared at me, and I saw something in his eyes, panic, guilt, and something else I couldn't identify. Fear, maybe. Or shame. I want you to leave, I said. Tonight. I want you out of this house until you're ready to tell me the truth. Jen. Get out. He left, packed a bag and went to a hotel. For 3 days, he stayed away while I cried, screamed into pillows, and tried to figure out what to do. Part of me wanted to call a divorce lawyer immediately. Part of me wanted to pack his stuff and throw it on the lawn. Part of me just wanted him to come home and tell me it was all a misunderstanding, that I was wrong, that our marriage could be saved. On the 3rd day he came back. He apologized. He said he'd been stressed, that he'd pulled away from me, that he wanted to work on our marriage. He suggested couples counseling. Is there someone else? Asked directly. He looked me in the eyes and lied. No, there's no one else. I wanted to believe him so badly. So I did. Or I tried to. We started counseling the following week with Dr. Patricia Chen, a marriage therapist in Newton. The 5th incident was the beginning of the end, though I didn't know it at the time. It was late November, almost Thanksgiving. We'd been going to counseling for 3 weeks. Things felt tentatively better. David was making more effort to be present. We were having actual conversations again. The defensiveness had dialed back. I was starting to think maybe we'd make it through this rough patch. Then I found the second phone. I was looking for our insurance cards. We kept them in David's nightstand drawer with other important documents. I opened the drawer, rummaged through, and my hand touched something hard and rectangular that wasn't supposed to be there. Phone. An iPhone with a plain black case. Nothing distinctive about it. But it wasn't his regular phone. That was downstairs charging in the kitchen. This was a second phone. Secret phone. My hand shook as I powered it on. It required a passcode, of course. I tried his birthday. Won't. I tried our anniversary. Won't. I tried my birthday. Won't. I heard David's footsteps on the stairs. I shoved the phone back in the drawer. Closed it just as he walked into the bedroom. What are you doing? He asked. Looking for the insurance cards. We need them for my dentist appointment tomorrow. Oh, they're in the file cabinet in my office. I moved them. Thanks. I'll grab them later. He didn't notice anything was wrong. Didn't realize I'd found his secret. But I knew. And I knew what that secret phone meant. He had a whole hidden life on that device. Messages, photos, calls, everything he didn't want me to see. Everything that would prove what I already knew deep down. My husband was having an affair. But with who? A woman from work. Someone he'd met online. That mystery M person. I decided I needed to know. I needed proof. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I hired a private investigator. Her name was Diana Pacheco, a former police detective who now ran her own private investigation firm. I met with her in her office, a small space above a coffee shop in Cambridge, and told her everything: the changed behavior, the lies, the hickey, the secret phone, the mysterious Marcus. I just need to know the truth, I said, trying not to cry. I need to know what I'm dealing with. Diana was kind but direct. Mrs. Harrison, from what you've described, your husband is definitely having an affair. The question is whether knowing the details will help you or hurt you. Some people are better off not knowing the specifics. I need to know. Okay. It'll take a couple of weeks, maybe a month, to gather evidence. In the meantime, try to act normally. Don't let him know you suspect anything beyond what you've already confronted him about. So I waited. We had Thanksgiving with his family, and I smiled and pretended everything was fine. We went to counseling and talked about communication issues and rebuilding trust. David seemed relieved that I'd stopped accusing him, that I seemed to be moving past my paranoia. What he didn't know was that I was now watching everything, noting every late night, every unexplained absence, every time he smiled at his phone. I was building my case, gathering my own evidence, preparing for the moment when I'd finally know the truth. December 15th, 2019. The day my entire world shattered into pieces I'll never be able to put back together. Diana called me at 10 a.m. I was at work, trying to focus on a design presentation, when my phone buzzed with her number. "Mrs. Harrison, I have the information you requested. Can you meet me today?" My heart dropped. "Yes." "When?" "Lunch. Same place we met before. I'll be there at noon." Those 2 hours were agony. I couldn't focus on anything. My mind spun through possibilities. Who was it? Was it someone I knew? Did David love this person? How long had it been going on? Would our marriage survive this? I met Diana at her office at noon exactly. She had a manila envelope on her desk, thick with contents I couldn't yet see. "Before I show you this," she said gently, "I want to prepare you. What I found is it's not what you expected. Most affairs are straightforward, a husband with a woman from work, a wife with an old boyfriend. This is different." "Different how?" She opened the envelope and pulled out a stack of photos. "Your husband has been having an affair for approximately 8 months. The affair partner is someone named Marcus Chen, age 34, works as a software engineer at a tech company in Cambridge. They met at the gym in January, became close around March, and the relationship became physical sometime in early May." I stared at her, not understanding. "Marcus. That's the gym friend. But you said affair partner. You mean?" She slid the first photo across the desk. It was David. And a man. An Asian man, handsome, fit, dressed in a nice button-down shirt and jeans. They were at a restaurant, Illinois Giardino. I recognized it immediately. And they were holding hands across the table. David was looking at this man the way he used to look at me. The way I thought he still looked at me. "This was taken on October 23rd, Diana said. "The night you found the receipt." My brain couldn't process it. David. With a man. A man named Marcus. "There's more," Diana said softly. She showed me photo after photo. David and Marcus at different restaurants. David and Marcus walking through Boston Common. Marcus's arm around David's waist. David and Marcus kissing outside a movie theater. David and Marcus entering a hotel together, leaving 2 hours later. "This last set was taken yesterday," Diana said. "Saturday afternoon, while you were at your friend's baby shower." The hotel photos were time-stamped. They'd checked in at 2 p.m. and left at 4:30 p.m. 2.5 hours in a hotel room in the middle of the afternoon. Felt numb. Like my body had disconnected from my brain to protect me from the pain that would come when I let myself really feel this. "Your husband is having a sexual relationship with this man," Diana continued. "Based on the evidence I've gathered, surveillance, email intercepts, credit card records he probably doesn't realize you can access, this appears to be a serious romantic relationship, not a casual affair. But David's not. I couldn't even say it. He's not gay. We've been married for 7 years. We have sex. He never said anything. Sexual orientation can be complicated," Diana said, and I could hear the pity in her voice. "Some people suppress their true orientation for years, sometimes decades, because of family pressure, religious beliefs, or societal expectations. It's possible your husband is gay and has been denying it." It's also possible he's bisexual and genuinely was attracted to you but has now fallen for a man. Without talking to him, I can't tell you which it is. She slid a USB drive across the desk. Everything is on here. Photos, surveillance notes, timeline, the works. I've also included information I gathered from their email exchanges. Your husband was careless with his laptop security. The emails confirm that this is a romantic relationship. They use language like, I love you. They make plans for future together. They talk about telling people. It's serious, Mrs. Harrison. I took the USB drive with shaking hands. Have they talked about me? In the emails? Diana hesitated. I've included those exchanges in the file. I'll warn you, they're painful to read. I left her office in a daze. Got in my car, drove to a Starbucks parking lot and opened my laptop. Plugged in the USB drive. Started reading. The emails destroyed me. From David Harrison to Marcus Chen. Dated July 28, 2019. Subject: last night. Marcus, I can't stop thinking about you. Last night was everything I needed. You make me feel like myself for the first time in my life. When I'm with you, I don't have to pretend anymore. I don't have to be the straight guy, the good husband, the person everyone expects me to be. Can just be David. The David I've been hiding since I was a teenager. I know this is complicated. I know I'm married. I know I'm hurting Jenna by doing this, and I hate myself for that. She's a good person. She doesn't deserve this. But I can't keep living a lie. I can't keep pretending to be someone I'm not. I think I'm in love with you. Is that crazy? We've only known each other for 6 months, but I feel more like myself with you than I ever have in my 7 years of marriage. I don't know what to do. But I know I can't lose you. David. From Marcus Chen to David Harrison, same date. David, you're not crazy. I'm in love with you too. Have been for months. I know this situation is messy. I know you have a wife, a life, obligations. But you also have a right to be happy. You have a right to be yourself. You've spent your entire life hiding who you are because of your family, your religion, your fear of rejection. How much longer are you going to sacrifice your happiness for other people's expectations? I'm not going to pressure you. You need to make your own choice. But I want you to know, I want a real relationship with you. Not sneaking around, not secret hotels, not lying to everyone in our lives. I want us to be together openly. And that means you're going to have to tell Jenna the truth. I know that terrifies you. But you can't keep living like this. It's destroying you. I see it every time we're together, the guilt, the fear, the conflict. You deserve better. We both do. Think about it. Really think about what you want your life to look like. Love you. Marcus. There were dozens more. Months of emails tracking their relationship from friendship to emotional intimacy to physical affair to full-blown love. They talked about everything, their feelings, their fears, their dreams for the future. Marcus encouraged David to come out, to be honest with me, to end our marriage. David kept saying he would soon, he just needed to find the right time. One email from October, right after I confronted him about the receipt. Jenna is suspicious. She's asking questions, noticing things. I think she might know, or at least suspect. I don't know how much longer I can keep this up. I told her I was having business dinners, that I'm stressed about work. She doesn't believe me. She's getting paranoid, demanding to see my phone, questioning everything I do. It's suffocating. I know I need to tell her. I know I do. But I'm terrified. Not just of hurting her, but of what comes after. My family will disown me. I'll be the scandal of the family. The son who threw away a good marriage to be with a man. My mother will never forgive me. My father will pretend I don't exist. But when I think about a life without you, it's unbearable. You're the only person who makes me feel alive. The only person I can be real with. I'm going to tell her. Promise. I just need to figure out how. I'm sorry I'm putting you through this. I'm sorry I'm such a coward. Love you, David. He was never planning to save our marriage. All those counseling sessions, all those promises to work on us, they were just stalling tactics while he built up the courage to leave me for Marcus. I sat in that Starbucks parking lot for 3 hours, reading every email, looking at every photo, watching my marriage die in documented detail. The final piece of evidence was the worst. A text message exchange from just 2 days ago, December 13th. Marcus, have you thought more about what we discussed? David, about moving in together. Marcus, yeah. You said you'd think about it. David, I want to. You know I want to. But I need to end things with Jenna first. I can't just leave without explaining. Marcus. You've been saying that for months. David, I know. Sorry. I'm a fucking coward. But I promise after the holidays. I'll tell her in January. I'll file for divorce. We can start our life together. Marcus, I need you to be sure. I'm not going to be your secret forever. David, you won't be. Promise. By February everyone will know. My family, her family, everyone. No more hiding. Marcus, I love you. David, I love you too. More than I've ever loved anyone. He'd never said that to me. Not once in our entire relationship. I love you, yes. But more than I've ever loved anyone. That was reserved for Marcus. Closed my laptop. Sat there in my car, staring at nothing. People walked past, going about their normal days, while mine had just ended. My husband was gay. Or bisexual. Or some orientation I didn't fully understand. And he'd been lying to me for our entire relationship. Maybe he'd even lied to himself. Had he ever really loved me? Or was I just a comfortable disguise, a way to appear normal to his conservative family? Was our wedding day real for him? Or was he already mourning the life he'd never have? And what about our sex life? When we made love, was he thinking about men? Was he imagining someone else? Was every intimate moment we shared a performance on his part? Felt sick. Like my entire marriage had been a lie. Like I'd been unknowingly playing a role in his elaborate deception. The worst part wasn't even the cheating. If he'd been sleeping with a woman, I could at least understand it. I could compete with that. I could point to things I'd done wrong, ways our relationship had failed, reasons he'd looked elsewhere. But I couldn't compete with this. I couldn't become a man. I couldn't give him what he apparently needed, a relationship where he could be his authentic self. I was never going to be enough. Not because I'd done anything wrong, but because I was fundamentally incompatible with who he really was. I drove home. David's car was in the driveway. It was Sunday around 4 p.m., and he was probably watching football in the living room like he did every Sunday. I walked in, and he looked up from the TV, smiling. Hey, how was the baby shower? Did Sarah like her gifts? Such casual normalcy. Like he wasn't planning to divorce me in 6 weeks. Like he wasn't in love with someone else. We need to talk, I said. My voice was eerily calm. Something in my tone made him sit up, made him reach for the remote to mute the TV. What's wrong? I walked over, stood directly in front of him, and dropped the USB drive in his lap. I know about Marcus. The color drained from his face. Jenna. I hired a private investigator. I've seen the photos. I've read the emails. I know everything. He stared at the USB drive like it was a bomb. You hired someone to follow me? You've been fucking someone else for 8 months. You're goddamn right I hired someone. I can explain. Explain what exactly? Explain that you're gay. Explain that our entire marriage has been a lie. Explain that you're in love with another man and planning to leave me in January, but you just hadn't worked up the courage to tell me yet. He started crying. Actually crying, tears streaming down his face. I'm so sorry. Jenna, I'm so fucking sorry. Are you gay? I asked the question I needed answered more than any other. Were you gay this whole time? He covered his face with his hands. I don't know. I thought I was straight. I thought if I just tried hard enough, if I married the right woman, if I built the right life, these feelings would go away. My whole life I pushed them down. My family is Catholic, conservative. Being gay wasn't an option. So I convinced myself I wasn't. I convinced myself I was normal. And me? What was I to you? You were real. What we had was real. I did love you, I still love you. Don't fucking say that. My voice cracked. Don't you dare tell me you love me when you've been telling another man he's the love of your life. He flinched. You read that. I read all of it. Every email, every text message. I saw every photo. You and Marcus holding hands, kissing, going to hotels. I saw it all, David. I never meant to hurt you. But you did. I was screaming now, months of suppressed pain exploding out. You hurt me every single day for 8 months. Every time you lied about working late. Every time you came home from seeing him and got into bed with me. Every time we went to counseling and you pretended you wanted to save our marriage when you were already planning to leave. I was confused. I was trying to figure out who I am. On my time. Using my emotions as your testing ground. I'm a person, David. Not a beard you get to hide behind while you figure out your sexuality. He was full on sobbing now. I know. You know. I'm a terrible person. I'm a coward. I should have been honest from the beginning, but I was so scared. Scared of my family, scared of what people would think, scared of losing everything. You lost me anyway, I said, my voice cold now, the rage burning out into something harder and more final. The moment you kissed Marcus, you lost me. You just didn't have the decency to tell me. We stood there in our living room. The room where we'd celebrated anniversaries and hosted friends and made plans for a future that would never happen. The Sunday football game played on muted in the background. Such a normal domestic scene for such a devastating moment. What do you want me to say? David asked finally, his voice broken. I want you to say the truth. No more lies. No more careful omissions. I want you to look me in the eye and tell me the whole truth about who you are and what you want. He took a shaky breath, wiped his eyes and met my gaze. I'm bisexual. Or maybe gay. I honestly don't know the right label. I was attracted to you when we met, that part was real. But I've always been attracted to men too, and I denied it, suppressed it, pretended it didn't exist. Then I met Marcus, and everything I'd been pushing down came flooding back. He made me feel seen in a way I'd never felt before. He knew who I really was, and he loved me anyway. And I fell in love with him. Do you still love me? I care about you. I'll always care about you. But I'm not in love with you anymore. I haven't been for a while. And I think you deserve someone who can love you the way you deserve to be loved. Someone who isn't constantly fighting against who they really are. It was the kindest rejection I'd ever received. And it still felt like being gutted. You need to leave, I said. Tonight. Pack your things and go. Jen, now. I want you out of this house now. He didn't argue. He went upstairs, packed 2 suitcases with clothes and essentials, and called Marcus from the bedroom. I could hear him through the floor. Can I stay with you? He knows. It's done. When he came back downstairs, suitcases in hand, he paused at the door. For what it's worth, I really am sorry. You deserved so much better than this. Yeah, I said. I did. He left, closed the door behind him. And I stood alone in our home, my home now, and finally let myself shatter. The first night was the worst. After David left, after his car pulled out of the driveway and I watched his taillights disappear down our street, I stood in the entryway of our house and screamed. Just screamed until my throat was raw and my voice gave out. Then I collapsed on the floor and cried until I threw up. Everything hurt. My chest felt like someone had reached in and ripped out my heart. My stomach churned with nausea. My head pounded from crying. Every part of my body was rejecting this new reality. I called Riley. She was my best friend, the person who'd been with me through everything. She answered on the second ring. Jen. What's wrong? He's gay. The words came out as a sob. David's gay. He's been having an affair with a man for 8 months. He left me. He just left. I'm coming over. Right now. Don't move. Riley lived 20 minutes away, but she made it in 12. She found me still on the floor, surrounded by wadded-up tissues, my face puffy and red from crying. She didn't say anything. Just sat down next to me, pulled me into her arms, and let me cry on her shoulder for another hour. When I finally calmed down enough to talk, I told her everything. About Marcus, about the emails, about the private investigator, about the confrontation. She listened without interrupting, her face cycling through shock, anger, and heartbreak on my behalf. That fucking coward, she finally said when I finished. He used you. He married you knowing he wasn't fully committed to you. And he used you as cover while he figured his shit out. He said he loved me. He said it was real. Maybe he thought it was. But Jen, he lied to you for years. Maybe not consciously at first, but he lied. And then when he met Marcus and realized what he really wanted, he kept lying. He let you believe your marriage was solid while he was planning his exit strategy. That's not love. That's cowardice. I knew she was right. But part of me still wanted to defend him, to believe that what we'd had was genuine even if it was over. Did I miss something? Yes. Were there signs earlier that I didn't see? Riley thought about it. Honestly. Well, he seemed like a normal straight guy. He was into you, he never seemed uncomfortable with physical affection. If he was faking it, he was good at it. That somehow made it worse. If I'd missed obvious signs, I could blame myself for being oblivious. But if he'd been that good at pretending, then how could I ever trust my judgment about anyone again? Riley stayed with me that first night. She ordered Chinese food that I couldn't eat, made me drink water so I wouldn't get dehydrated from crying, and put on mindless TV shows to fill the silence. Around midnight, she helped me to bed and slept next to me so I wouldn't be alone. I didn't sleep. I just lay there staring at the ceiling, my mind spinning through every moment of my marriage, recontextualizing everything through this new lens. Our wedding night. Had he been nervous because he didn't really want to have sex with a woman? Our honeymoon, when we made love on the beach in Hawaii. Was he thinking about someone else? Every anniversary, every I love you. Every plan we'd made for the future. How much of it had been real? And how much had been him trying to convince himself he could be happy in a straight marriage? The worst thoughts came around 3 a.m., in that dark early morning when everything feels more terrible than it really is. Had I been bad in bed? Was that why he'd sought out Marcus? Was I not feminine enough? Not attractive enough? Had he ever actually enjoyed sex with me? Or was every time an act of willpower on his part? Did Marcus satisfy him in ways I never could? I knew these thoughts were irrational. His sexuality wasn't about me or my inadequacy. But knowing something intellectually doesn't stop your brain from torturing you with it emotionally. The next morning, Monday, I called in sick to work. Then Tuesday. Then Wednesday. My boss eventually called, concerned, and I broke down and told her everything. She gave me 2 weeks of emergency leave and told me to take care of myself. Those first days were a blur of pain. I couldn't eat, food tasted like cardboard, and my stomach rejected most of what I tried to force down. I lost 7 pounds in the first week. I couldn't sleep for more than an hour or two at a time. My body kept jolting awake in panic, like it couldn't accept that this was really happening. I had to tell people. That was its own special hell. I told my parents first. My mom cried on the phone. My dad got quiet and angry in that way dads do when someone hurts their daughter and they can't fix it. "Do you want me to talk to him?" my dad asked, and I knew what he meant. Did I want him to call David and tear him apart? Part of me did. Part of me wanted my dad to make David feel as small and worthless as I felt. "No," I said. "There's nothing to say to him. It's over." I told my sister next. She was furious. "I never liked him," she lied, because she had liked him, everyone had liked him. That was part of what made this so disorienting. David had been a good husband on the surface. Kind, reliable, responsible. Everyone thought we had a strong marriage. "Do you need me to come home?" she asked. She lived in California, a 6-hour flight away. "No. Riley's here. I'm okay." I wasn't okay. But I didn't want her to append her life for me. Telling David's family was his responsibility, but I knew they'd call me. And they did 3 days after he left. His mother called first. "Jenna, sweetheart, David told us you two are separating." "I'm so sorry. What happened? Can it be fixed?" She didn't know the full truth yet. David had apparently just told them we were having irreconcilable differences. "Mrs. Harrison, I think David needs to have a conversation with you. It's not my place to explain. But you two seem so happy. Is it another woman?" I almost laughed. "No. It's not another woman." She kept pressing and finally I snapped. "Your son is gay, Mrs. Harrison. Or bisexual. He's been having an affair with a man. That's why we're separating. If you want more details, ask him." There was a long silence. Then, "That's impossible. David isn't, he wouldn't." "He did." "Yes. I'm sorry you have to find out this way, but I can't keep his secrets for him anymore." Hung up. Felt guilty about it for approximately 5 minutes. Then remembered that her son had destroyed my life and she'd raised him with such rigid expectations about masculinity and sexuality that he'd felt the need to hide who he was for decades, and my guilt evaporated. David texted me an hour later. "You told my mother?" I texted back. "You should have told her yourself. You had no right." "I had every right. You lost the privilege of controlling the narrative when you fucked someone else for 8 months. He didn't respond. His siblings called over the next few days. His older brother Tom was surprisingly supportive. "I'm sorry he put you through this. And between you and me, I had wondered sometimes. Little things, you know. But I never said anything because I figured it was none of my business." "What little things?" I needed to know what I'd missed. "I don't know. Just he never seemed that interested in women growing up. Didn't date much in high school or college. When he met you, I thought maybe he was just a late bloomer. But maybe it was more complicated than that. His younger brothers were less kind. They blamed me for turning my back on him when he needed support. As if I was supposed to comfort my husband through his affair and his coming out process while my own life fell apart. I blocked them. The physical fallout was brutal. I developed insomnia. Couldn't sleep more than a few hours a night. When I did sleep, I had nightmares. In most of them, I discovered David and Marcus together in our bed. Or I'd be walking down the aisle at our wedding, and when I reached the altar, David would say, "I don't," and leave me standing there alone. I started having panic attacks. Random moments when my chest would tighten, my breathing would get shallow, and I'd feel like I was dying. Riley researched them and taught me breathing techniques, but they still hit without warning. Food was still difficult. I tried to eat and feel nauseous. My body associated eating with normalcy, and normalcy was gone, so why eat? I couldn't be in our house for long. Every room had memories. The kitchen where we'd made breakfast together on Sunday mornings. The living room where we'd cuddled on the couch watching movies. The bedroom where I'd believed we were building intimacy when he'd been pretending. I started sleeping at Riley's apartment. Just crashed on her couch for a week because being alone in that house made me feel like I was suffocating. David texted occasionally with logistics. He needed to get more of his things, we needed to talk about the house, we needed to discuss divorce proceedings. I couldn't deal with any of it. I told him to communicate through my lawyer once I hired one. I hired a lawyer the second week. Melissa Ortiz, a divorce attorney recommended by a friend. She was straightforward and efficient. Massachusetts is a no-fault divorce state, she explained. So his affair doesn't legally matter for the divorce itself. But it might matter for asset division if you can prove he spent marital money on the affair. I thought about those hotel receipts, those expensive dinners. He did. Good. Save everything. We'll use it. The financial untangling was complicated. We owned the house jointly, I wanted to keep it, but I couldn't afford it on my salary alone. We had joint bank accounts, joint credit cards, retirement accounts to split. It was overwhelming. This is going to take months, Melissa warned. Maybe a year. Divorces are rarely quick or clean. I don't care how long it takes. I want what I'm entitled to. And what I was entitled to, apparently, was half of everything we'd built together. Half the house equity. Half the savings. Half the retirement accounts. David didn't fight it. Guilt made him generous. Or maybe Marcus was pushing him to settle quickly so they could move on with their lives. 2 weeks after David left, Riley convinced me to go to therapy. You need professional help, Jen. I love you and I'm here for you, but you need someone who's trained to help people through trauma. It's not trauma. It's just a divorce. It's absolutely trauma. Your entire reality was upended. You're grieving not just the loss of your marriage but the loss of who you thought your partner was. That's traumatic. She was right. I found a therapist, Dr. Sarah Klein, a specialist in infidelity and relationship trauma. I started seeing her twice a week. In our first session, Dr. Klein asked me what I was feeling beyond the obvious sadness and anger. Stupid, I said. I feel stupid. How did I not know? How did I share a bed with someone for 7 years and not realize he was gay? Sexual orientation isn't always obvious, she said gently. And he was hiding it, even from himself in some ways. You weren't stupid. You were trusting. There's a difference. I struggled to find the words. I feel like I wasn't enough. Like if I'd been more attractive, more exciting, more something, he wouldn't have needed Marcus. His attraction to men isn't about your inadequacy. It's about his identity. You could have been the most beautiful, exciting, perfect woman in the world, and he still would have been attracted to men. Because that's who he is. Intellectually, I knew that. Emotionally, I still felt like I'd failed somehow. We worked on that a lot in therapy. The difference between intellectual knowledge and emotional acceptance. The process of separating his choices from my worth. The challenge of rebuilding my sense of self after it had been tied to a relationship that turned out to be built on lies. It was slow, painful work. Some days I'd leave her office feeling hopeful, like I could survive this. Other days I'd leave feeling worse, like I'd never be okay again. 3 weeks after David left, I saw him with Marcus. I was at Whole Foods grocery shopping trying to pretend my life was normal. I rounded the corner into the produce section and there they were. David and Marcus, shopping together, laughing about something. Marcus had his hand on David's lower back, a casual, intimate gesture. They looked happy, comfortable, like a normal couple doing normal couple things. Froze. Couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. Just stared at them, at the life David had chosen over me. Marcus saw me first. He froze too, his hand dropping from David's back. Said something to David, who turned and saw me. For a moment we all just stood there. Then David started walking toward me. Jen. I turned and walked away. Left my half-full cart in the middle of the aisle and practically ran to my car. Once inside, I locked the doors and cried so hard I thought I might vomit again. He'd moved on. Ready. Just 3 weeks after our marriage ended, and he was shopping for groceries with his boyfriend like they were planning to cook dinner together. I drove to Riley's apartment and had a complete breakdown. He's happy, I sobbed. He left me and he's fucking happy. Of course he's happy, Riley said, holding me while I cried. He got what he wanted. He got to leave his inconvenient wife and start his authentic life. That doesn't mean you won't be happy again too. It just means he's a selfish asshole who's pretending the damage he caused doesn't exist. I want him to hurt. I want him to feel as bad as I feel. He probably does feel guilty. But he's also relieved. And relief is going to win out over guilt. That's just how people like him work. I hated that she was right. I hated that he got to be happy while I was falling apart. I hated that he got to start fresh while I had to pick up the pieces of the life we'd built together. But mostly I hated that I still missed him sometimes. Not the real him, the liar, the cheater, the coward. But the version of him I'd thought I was married to. The kind husband, the reliable partner, the man I'd thought would be beside me forever. That man didn't exist. He never had. But I grieved him anyway. By January 2020, I had to make some concrete decisions about my future. I couldn't keep crying on Riley's couch indefinitely. I couldn't keep avoiding the house I legally still owned. I couldn't keep my life on pause while I waited to feel better. So I did what I always do in times of crisis. I made a list. Immediate decisions. Keep the house or sell it. Stay in Boston or move. Continue current job or find something new. Tell mutual friends the truth or let David control the narrative. Stay in touch with David's family or cut contact completely. Let me walk through each one because these decisions shaped everything that came after. The house. This was the hardest one. The house represented everything, our dreams, our future, the life I thought I was building. It was supposed to be where we raised kids, where we grew old together. Every room had memories and most of them hurt. But it was also mine. I'd picked out the paint colors, arranged the furniture, planted the garden in the backyard. I'd turned it from a dated 1960s colonial into a warm, beautiful home. David wanted to sell it. Too many memories, he said through his lawyer. We should both start fresh. Translation. He wanted his half of the equity so he and Marcus could buy their own place. My instinct was to keep it out of spite. To refuse to let him profit from the home I'd created. But that meant taking on a mortgage I could barely afford and living surrounded by ghosts. Dr. Klein asked me to think about what would make me happiest in 5 years. In 5 years, do you want to be living in the house you shared with your ex-husband? Or do you want to be somewhere new that's entirely yours? When she put it that way, the answer was obvious. I didn't want to spend the next several years being reminded of my failed marriage every time I walked in the door. We put the house on the market in February. It sold in 3 weeks. Boston's housing market was hot, and we'd kept it in great condition. The sale price was good. After paying off the mortgage, we each walked away with about $85,000. It hurt to sign those papers. Hurt to hand the keys to the new owners, a young couple with a baby who looked at the house the way I once had, full of hope and dreams. But it also felt like closing a chapter. Like I was finally allowed to move forward. Stay or leave Boston. This one I went back and forth on constantly. Boston was my home. I'd lived there for a decade. My job, my friends, my life were all there. But Boston was also where David was. Where Marcus was. Where I might run into them at any moment doing normal couple things while I was still broken. My sister offered to let me move to California. Stay with her while I figured things out. Riley suggested I look for a fresh start in a new city, maybe New York, maybe Portland, somewhere I could reinvent myself. But running away felt like admitting defeat. Like letting David's choices push me out of the city I loved. I decided to stay in Boston. But I moved to a different neighborhood, one without memories. I found a one-bedroom apartment in Cambridge, near Central Square. It was small but sunny, with hardwood floors and exposed brick. It was mine, only mine, and David had never set foot in it. My job. My boss at the marketing agency had been incredibly supportive during my crisis. She'd given me time off, reduced my workload, and checked in regularly to see how I was doing. But going back to that office felt wrong. Everyone there knew about David, knew about the divorce, and their pity was suffocating. Every day I'd walk in and feel people's eyes on me, wondering if I was okay, if I'd start crying at my desk again. I started looking for new jobs in late January. Updated my portfolio, sent out applications, went to interviews. In March I got an offer from a smaller boutique design firm in Cambridge. Better pay, more creative freedom, and best of all, nobody knew me or my story. I gave my notice at the marketing agency and started the new job in April. It was scary starting over, but it was also liberating. I wasn't the woman whose husband left her for a man there. I was just Jenna, the new creative lead with a strong portfolio. Mutual friends. This was messier than I expected. David and I had shared friends, couples we'd spent time with, people who'd been at our wedding. And suddenly, they were choosing sides whether they meant to or not. Some friends were solidly in my corner. They were furious on my behalf, cut David off completely, rallied around me. Others tried to stay neutral. "We love you both," they'd say. "We don't want to take sides." Which felt like taking his side, honestly. How do you stay friends with someone who devastated your friend? And a few, not many, but a few sided with David. They praised him for living his truth, and being brave enough to come out. They acted like I should be happy for him, supportive of his journey. I cut those people off without hesitation. I don't care how brave it is to come out. You don't get credit for bravery when you destroy someone else's life in the process. I let friends self-select. The ones who showed up for me, who called and texted and dragged me out of my apartment when I was spiraling, those are the friends I kept. The ones who disappeared or made excuses or tried to maintain friendships with both of us, they fell away, and I didn't chase them. His family. David's mother called me in late January. She'd had time to process the news, and she wanted to apologize. "I'm so sorry for what David put you through," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "I raised him better than this. I don't understand how he could lie to you, to all of us, for so long." It was genuine, I could tell. But it was also complicated. Because part of why David had hidden who he was for so long was because of his family's conservative values. Her values. "Mrs. Harrison, I appreciate the apology. But I need some space from your family right now. This isn't about you, it's about me needing to heal." "I understand. But Jenna, you'll always be family to us. I hope when you're ready, we can still have a relationship." I wasn't sure I wanted that. Being close to his family meant being reminded of him constantly. But I told her I'd think about it, and we left it there. His siblings I cut off completely except for Tom, the older brother. He'd been genuinely kind, and he didn't try to defend David's actions or make me feel like I should be understanding. We'd text occasionally, nothing deep, just checking in. I appreciated that. Beyond those big five, there were dozens of smaller decisions that all felt monumental. Should I keep my wedding ring? I sold it and donated the money to an LGBTQ+ youth charity. Should I keep his name? I'd never taken it, so this wasn't an issue, but I thought about it. Should I delete all our photos together? Archived them. Couldn't bring myself to delete 7 years of memories, but I didn't want to see them either. Should I stay friends with him on social media? God no. Blocked immediately. Should I agree to his request for one final conversation to get closure? Well, he didn't get to use me for his emotional processing. Every choice felt heavy. Every choice felt like I was deciding not just what to do but who I wanted to be after all of this. The person who stayed bitter and angry. The person who immediately jumped into dating to prove I was over it. The person who pretended to be fine when I wasn't. The person who let this define me forever. Dr. Klein helped me figure out that I didn't have to decide who I was becoming all at once. I could just focus on getting through each day, making choices that felt right in the moment, and trusting that eventually, I'd figure out who I was on the other side of this. You're not just surviving, she told me in one session. You're actively rebuilding. Every choice you're making is a brick in the foundation of your new life. Doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be yours. That became my mantra. This life is mine. Not ours. Not the one I thought I was building with David. And slowly, painfully, choice by choice, I started building it. It's been almost 5 years since David left. 5 years since I discovered the truth about my marriage. 5 years since my world shattered. Let me tell you where everyone ended up because I know you're wondering. David and Marcus. They're still together. They moved into a condo in the South End, one of Boston's trendier gay neighborhoods. David finally came out to his family completely in early 2020. It went about as well as expected. His parents were devastated. His mother cried for weeks. His father stopped speaking to him for 6 months. But eventually they came around. Not fully accepting but at least speaking to him. David and Marcus got married in 2022. Legally married. I know this because Tom sent me a heads-up text before it happened. Just wanted to let you know so you don't find out through social media. I cried when I got that text. Not because I still loved David, I didn't, not anymore, but because it was a reminder that he got his happy ending. He got to live authentically, marry the person he loved, and start fresh. And what did I get? I got to pick up the pieces. From what I've heard through the grapevine, mutual friends who still talk to both of us, David seems happy. He's out at work, active in the LGBTQ+ community, living the life he apparently always wanted. I don't follow him on social media. I don't keep tabs on him. But occasionally, information filters through, and I have to sit with the complicated emotions it brings up. I'm glad he's happy. I genuinely am. Nobody should have to hide who they are or live a lie. But I'm also angry that his happiness came at my expense. That his journey to authenticity left me traumatized and broken. Both things can be true. He deserves to be himself. And he also handled it in the worst possible way. His family. I haven't spoken to his mother in 3 years. She'd call occasionally in the first year after the divorce, trying to maintain a relationship, but it was too painful. Every conversation reminded me of what I'd lost, what I'd never have, the family I thought I'd married into. Tom and I still text sometimes. Holiday cards, occasional updates. He got married last year and he sent me an invitation. I didn't go, but I sent a gift. It felt like the right amount of connection, acknowledging our history without pretending we're still family. My family and friends. Riley is still my rock. She was there through every stage of this nightmare. And she's there now as I rebuild. She never judged me for my bad days, never told me to get over it or move on faster. She just showed up consistently and loved me through the worst period of my life. I'm the godmother to her daughter, born in 2022. Being around that tiny, perfect baby helped me remember that life contains joy and beauty even when your own life feels destroyed. My parents worried about me constantly in the first year. My mom would call every day to check on me. My dad, who's not emotional usually, cried when I told him I'd finalized the divorce. "You deserved better," he kept saying. "You deserved so much better." They're proud of how I've rebuilt, though. They see that I'm stronger now, more independent, more sure of myself. Silver lining to devastation, I guess. My career. The career change was one of the best decisions I made. The boutique design firm in Cambridge became a place where I could pour my pain into creativity. I threw myself into work, not as an escape but as a way to prove to myself that I was still capable, still talented, still valuable. I was promoted to Senior Creative Director in 2022. I now lead a team of 5 designers and I love it. I love mentoring younger creatives. I love the challenge of complex projects. I love that I built this success entirely on my own merits. Work became part of my identity in a way it hadn't been before. Before I was David's wife who also does design work. Now I'm Jenna, the creative director with an impressive portfolio. That shift mattered. My living situation. I still live in that 1-bedroom apartment in Cambridge. It's small but it's mine. I've decorated it exactly how I want, bold colors, eclectic art, plants everywhere. It doesn't look like the home David and I shared. Looks like me. I thought about buying another place, building equity again, but I'm not ready. The apartment feels safe. Non-permanent. Like I'm keeping my options open for whatever comes next. Dating and relationships. This is complicated. I didn't date for the first 2 years. Couldn't even imagine it. The idea of trusting someone again, of being vulnerable, of risking getting hurt, it was too much. In 2022, Riley convinced me to try therapy-focused dating coaching. Sounds new age and ridiculous, but it helped. I worked through my trust issues, my fear of being deceived again, my worry that I'd miss red flags. I went on my first post-David date in late 2022. It was terrible. The guy was nice enough, but I spent the whole dinner comparing him to David, wondering if he was lying about anything, analyzing every word for hidden meanings. I went on a few more dates over the next year. Some were fine, some were bad, none led anywhere serious. I was too guarded, too scared, too broken still. Then in 2023 I met Alex. Alex is a software engineer, funny and kind and refreshingly straightforward. We met at a friend's barbecue, so similar to how I met David, which freaked me out at first. But Alex is nothing like David. When I told him about my ex-husband on our 4th date, because by then he deserved to know why I was so cautious, he listened without judgment. "That must have been devastating," he said. "Not just the betrayal but the identity crisis it probably caused. Like, how do you trust your own judgment after that?" He got it. Understood it. Didn't try to tell me I should be over it by now, or that I shouldn't let one bad experience ruin future relationships. We've been together for about a year now. Good. Not perfect, I still have moments of panic, moments where I convince myself he's hiding something. But he's patient with me. Transparent in ways David never was. Leaves his phone unlocked, tells me where he's going, introduces me to his friends and family. Am I ready to marry again? Oh no. The idea of marriage makes my chest tighten with anxiety. But I'm learning to trust again slowly. Learning that not everyone lies. That it's possible to build something real with someone who's actually honest about who they are. My healing journey. I still see Dr. Klein, though less frequently now. Once a month instead of twice a week. We talk about my progress, my setbacks, my ongoing trust issues. The trauma doesn't go away completely. I still have nightmares sometimes, usually variations on the moment I discovered the truth. I still have panic attacks occasionally, though I've learned to manage them better. I've learned that healing isn't linear. Some days I feel strong and whole and proud of how far I've come. Other days, something random will trigger me, seeing a couple that reminds me of David and me. Hearing a song from our wedding and I'll spiral for a few hours. But the bad days are less frequent now. And they don't last as long. I've also done a lot of work on forgiving myself. For not seeing the signs earlier. For trusting too easily. For wasting 7 years on someone who wasn't fully present in our relationship. Dr. Klein keeps reminding me. You didn't waste 7 years. You lived 7 years. You built a career, deepened friendships, learned about yourself. The relationship ended badly, but that doesn't mean the entire experience was worthless. I'm still working on believing that. What I've learned. This experience taught me things I wish I didn't have to learn. Trust is precious. When someone violates it, they don't just break your heart, they break your ability to trust anyone, including yourself. That's a specific kind of damage that takes years to repair. You can't really know someone. No matter how well you think you know your partner, there are parts of them that might be hidden even from themselves. That's terrifying, but it's also true. People will surprise you. Some friends I thought would be there disappeared. Others I barely knew showed up powerfully. Crisis reveals who people really are. You're stronger than you think. I genuinely didn't believe I'd survive this. I thought the pain would kill me. But humans are resilient in ways we don't understand until we're forced to be. Coming out is brave, but it doesn't excuse cruelty. David's journey to accepting his sexuality was undoubtedly difficult. But he could have handled it without lying to me for years, without letting me believe we had a future when he knew we didn't. Courage and cruelty can coexist. Healing takes as long as it takes. People kept telling me I should be over it after a year. But you don't get over having your entire reality rewritten. You learn to live with it, carry it, integrate it into your story. But it doesn't disappear on anyone's timeline but your own. Current life status. Today, 5 years later, I'm okay. Not perfect, not completely healed, but okay. I have a job I love, friends who showed up when it mattered, family who supports me, and a new relationship that's teaching me what healthy love looks like. I have my own apartment, my own money, my own life that I built from scratch after everything fell apart. I have therapy tools to manage my anxiety and trust issues. I have perspective that I didn't have before about relationships, about sexuality, about human complexity. Do I still carry scars? Absolutely. Do I still have moments where the pain resurfaces? Do I still wonder sometimes what my life would look like if David had been honest from the beginning? Of course. But I also know that I survived something that felt unsurvivable. And that knowledge, that proof of my own strength, is something nobody can take away from me. What happened to the settlement? The financial part wrapped up in late 2020. We sold the house, split everything 50-50ths. David didn't fight me on any of it. Guilt made him generous, or maybe Marcus advised him to just settle quickly. I used my half of the house money as a down payment on my healing. New apartment, new furniture, therapy, some travel to clear my head. The rest went into savings. David used his half to buy the condo with Marcus, from what I heard. Money can't heal emotional wounds, but it can provide stability while you're doing the hard work of healing. I was grateful not to have to worry about finances while my mental health was a disaster. The divorce. It was finalized in September 2020, 9 months after he left. Massachusetts has a mandatory waiting period, and there was paperwork to sort through, but it was relatively straightforward since we didn't have kids and we agreed on asset division. I wasn't at the courthouse when the judge signed the final decree. My lawyer handled it. But I remember getting the email. Your divorce is officially finalized. I sat in my apartment staring at that email, feeling nothing. No relief, no sadness, just numb exhaustion. It was over legally, but the emotional divorce had been happening slowly for months. I didn't celebrate. Didn't have a divorce party like some people do. I just sat with it, acknowledged it, and moved forward. Looking forward. 5 years out, I can finally say, I'm building a life I actually want. Not the life I planned with David, the house in the suburbs, the kids, the golden retriever, the predictable, comfortable future. That life is gone, and I've stopped mourning it. Instead, I'm building something different. Maybe I'll have kids someday, maybe I won't. Maybe I'll get married again, though that still seems impossible, maybe I won't. Maybe I'll stay in Boston, maybe I'll move. The point is, it's my choice now. My life. My decisions. Nobody is lying to me or using me as cover for their own journey. Nobody is building a future with me while secretly planning their exit. It's mine. Finally, completely mine. And that feels like enough. When I found that hotel keycard in David's gym bag, the keycard that led me to room 847, to the moment where I saw my husband in another man's arms, I thought it was the end of my world. And in a way it was. The world where I was a happily married woman planning a future with her husband ended that day. The world where I trusted my judgment and believed I knew my partner completely ended that day. The world where I felt safe and secure in my relationship ended that day. But the end of one world was the beginning of another. I had to rebuild from absolute zero. Had to relearn who I was without being David's wife. Had to reconstruct my sense of reality after every assumption I'd made about my life turned out to be false. It's been 5 years. 5 years of therapy, tears, rage, confusion, slow healing, setbacks, small victories, and gradual rebuilding. And you know what I've learned? You can survive anything. Even things that feel completely unsurvivable in the moment. When I was standing in that hotel hallway, watching my husband kiss Marcus, watching my marriage die in real time, I genuinely thought I would never be okay again. I thought the pain would last forever. I thought I'd never trust anyone again, never love again, never feel whole again. I was wrong. Don't get me wrong, I'm not grateful for what happened. I don't subscribe to the everything happens for a reason philosophy or the you're stronger now silver lining bullshit. What David did was wrong. Period. He hurt me deeply and unnecessarily, and I'll carry those scars forever. But I'm also no longer the person who crumbled when she discovered the truth. I'm someone who rebuilt. Someone who learned that strength isn't about not falling apart. It's about putting yourself back together afterward. To anyone going through something similar, whether your spouse is gay, straight, or somewhere in between, whether they left you for another woman, another man, or just for themselves, I want you to know, your pain is valid. It doesn't matter if your partner was brave for coming out. It doesn't matter if they were finding themselves. Your devastation is real and justified. You're allowed to be angry. You're allowed to feel betrayed. You're allowed to grieve not just the relationship but the future you thought you had. You didn't fail. If you're like me, you've probably spent countless hours wondering what you could have done differently, what signs you missed, why you weren't enough. You can't be something you're not. If your partner was attracted to a different gender, that's about them, not you. You didn't fail. They lied. Take your time healing. People will pressure you to move on, to start dating, to get back out there. Ignore them. Heal at your own pace. There's no timeline for recovering from betrayal. Trust will come back slowly. I never thought I'd trust anyone again. But here I am, in a healthy relationship with someone who's shown me what honesty actually looks like. It's possible. Just takes time and patience and a lot of therapy. You will be okay. Maybe not today, maybe not this year. But eventually, you'll wake up and realize you went a whole day without thinking about them. Then a whole week. Then you'll notice you're actually happy sometimes. Then you'll realize you've built an entirely new life. One that's maybe even better than the one you lost. The hotel key card that destroyed my old world also, in a strange way, freed me. Freed me from living a lie. Freed me to build something real. I'm not glad it happened, but I'm glad I survived it. And I'm proud of who I've become on the other side. If you're reading this and you're in pain, whether from infidelity, a partner coming out, or any kind of betrayal, please know, you're not alone. Your story is your own, but the pain is universal. And so is the possibility of healing. You will survive this. You will rebuild. And someday you'll look back at this moment and see it not as the end, but as a painful beginning. To anyone struggling with their sexuality while in a relationship, please be honest. The temporary pain of truth is so much kinder than years of lies. Your partner deserves to know who they're really with. And you deserve to be yourself. But you don't get to use someone else's heart as your testing ground while you figure it out. To David, if somehow you're reading this, I hope you're happy. I genuinely do. And I hope you understand the damage you caused. Not to guilt trip you, but because understanding it is the only way to ensure you never do it to anyone else. You get to live your authentic life now. I had to rebuild mine from scratch. Both things are true. Standing in that hotel hallway 5 years ago, I would never have believed I'd be where I am today, stronger, wiser, genuinely okay. But here I am. Proof that you can survive even the most devastating betrayal. Your marriage might end. Your trust might shatter. Your world might completely fall apart. But you will survive. And on the other side of survival is a life that's entirely, authentically yours. That's worth fighting for. If this story resonated with you, please share it. Someone out there needs to know they're not alone in their pain. Someone needs to know they'll survive. Someone needs to hear that there's life after betrayal. You're not alone. You're never alone. And you're going to be okay. Like and share for more stories like this.